All right, this is what I'm thinking, Dean began, doing his best to present his idea without it being a presentation. I need you, directing his gaze at Birk, to let me know if this satisfies what you had in mind. Like, want done. Sound good? Birk signaled his acknowledgement with a nod of his head. And you, Dean, turning his head to Mel, you tell me why it won't work, why it will fail, why it's not a good idea. Mel was giving his good-to-go nod, hand gesture, and then some. He lived to do exactly that. Right, since we are all on the same page, let's get started. And with that, Dean stepped forward, facing the two men, both of them in his field of vision. Picture it as 100 years from now. They've released their dove, and they will need a way to know when he has returned. Dean paused briefly, scanned both of his colleagues' faces. Getting the acknowledgement he was searching for, he moved on. Birk also made it clear this needs to be completely analog, self-contained and autonomous, but with a single human element that ultimately controls whether the seal is broken or not.
Right.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Birk encouraged his friend and contractor to continue. Cool. So, there would always be at least one person in this chamber when the dove is released. Dean motioned to the small adjacent 4-foot by 8-foot chamber. When the dove is ready to re-enter the airlock, he will tap on a specific spot above us in the meadow. Go for signal, Dean barked into the walkie. And with that came through a very clear and very distinct tap. Yes, very clear and easy to recognize. I like it so far. Birk nodding approvingly. That tap will trigger these gears, setting into motion the ability for someone to open the airlock. Right, so after the signal, the gears start a 12-minute countdown. After 12 minutes, the collar on the airlock release lever. Dean walks over to the airlock release lever, doing his best Vanna White, directing their attention to the pin, locked into place. Will spring open. Dean manually triggered the spring action for proof of concept, and the airlock can be opened. Dean paused again, looked at both men, and then back to Birk. So, does that fit what you're looking for? Yes. I like that it gives us time to decide if we should open it or not. Wouldn't want Satan or one of his minions being able to open it. I appreciate the cogwheel design. Very smart. Nothing digital for the Dark Ones to manipulate. But what would stop one of Satan's minions from forcing Dove to open the airlock? Mel did his Mel thing. Just kinda tossing the question to whomever would like to field it. We could have a secret knock kinda thing. 1 tap, I'm good. 2 taps, it's a trap. Sneaking a bit of Admiral Akbar in at the end. Yes, variation on that would be perfect. Birk lent his stamp of approval, even if he didn't catch the Star Wars reference. But why even need the special knock? Or send the dove, for that matter? Why any of this? Mel beginning to spiral. His skepticism too deep to be contained within him, spilling out and flooding the small chamber with his doubt and derision. I mean, God is all-knowing, right? So why doesn't God just tell us that it's the dove and not a trap? Or that the waters had receded and no actual need for the dove? Mel's questions directed at neither of the men beside him in particular, but more like a fire hose left unattended and spraying everywhere. Proverbs 16:9. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Birk smiling, feeling this passage unambiguously resolved the issue. And that's another thing. Stop with the damn scripture like that is some answer. I ask direct questions but only get vague replies. That's not explanation but a kind way to tell me to just shut up and accept it. I need a real reason, not some cryptic quote from an outdated book from 2 millennia ago. His confusion and frustration boiling over and spilling out as well now. His first 30 years filled with this man or that. treating his objections to the status quo as something he need not worry about, in lieu of satiation, only creating more contradictions and inconsistencies. "I think I can help with your original objections." Dean, seeing the look in Birk's eyes, the look of a preacher armed with another Bible verse as rebuttal. "And it doesn't contain any quotes from any books." A wry smile growing on the large stoic man's face, reassuring Birk that another tact may be better for someone like Mel. "When I was little, I was mesmerized by the flame while my mum cooked on the stovetop, the way it would flicker and dance as she moved back and forth, prepping this or stirring that. The color of the flame, the whites, oranges, and blues, each color distinct, but yet no hard boundary from one color to the next. My mum loved that I would keep her company as she cooked, but, to be honest, I was just staring at the flame, consumed by it, only to have my mother tell me, every time, to not touch it. She would tell me that it's hot, and will burn me, and to never ever touch the flame. She would crouch down to my eye level, really driving home how important it was to never touch the flame, making me swear to God or anything else she thought I held dear, that I would never touch the flame. Like the good boy I was, I always promised not to touch the flame, while always wanting to touch it. I wanted so badly to hold it, pet it like a bunny, tame it, make it my new best friend, but never touched it because my mum forbade me from doing so and I just wanted to please her. That was till one morning my mum was sick in bed and my dad needed to make us breakfast. I rushed into the kitchen to join him, but more to see my friend the flame. My dad saw the way I looked at it, hypnotized by it. He knew how dangerous that look I had was, that it was only a matter of time before my fixation turned dangerous. But unlike my mother, he told me to touch it. He had heard my mum's warnings being hurled at me, all these reasons why I should never touch the flame, but my curiosity never dimmed as I obeyed, so he took a different approach. He told me to touch it. I looked at him, confused, having been warned for as long as I could remember to never touch it. But here was my dad, the toughest, smartest, bravest person in my world, and he is encouraging me to touch it. Dean smiling, the memory warm, comforting, how he missed his parents. "So, did you touch it? Did your dad stop you from touching it?" Mel, unable to hold back his intrigue during his friend's fond pause, enveloped in the tale, needing its conclusion, its relevance. "You're kidding me. I was waiting my whole life to touch it, and here was my father, the ultimate authority, telling me it was okay. Damn right I touched it. And my father let me, knowing it would burn me, knowing I would never let go of my obsession, that it would grow and become so much bigger than a harmless burn on my finger. He saw the danger and prohibition without experience. He knew no matter what my mother told me, at some point I would need to find out for myself."
Thank you for joining us with this second installment of the Book of the Dove. This week's selection was the Book of the Omega Protocol.
Yes, we do appreciate you returning to hear this most important retelling of such a significant tale.
Triss, would you mind getting us started by recapping the whos and the whens of this installment?
My pleasure, brother. We start more than 100 years prior to last week's portion. The year is 1998. Prior to the sailing of the Ark, roughly a year later, it is early in the stages of the Ark's creation where we are introduced to three of our community's founding fathers.
Do you mind giving us a very brief introduction to these great men? For our listeners,
We start with Dean. He handled the bulk of the security, construction, and planning. He was the man tasked with bringing Birk's vision to life. Birk, of course, being our founder and mouthpiece of the Lord. He was the man God tapped first, laying out the impending flood and what would be needed for humanity's ultimate survival. The last of the three founders is Mel. His official title was quartermaster, but all of us inside the Ark lovingly referred to him as the skeptic. He was tasked with finding any holes in Birk's interpretation of God's plan. The man needed to keep us all grounded and not to succumb to the literal echo chamber our community was contained within.
This was one of the briefer transmissions, a mix of insight into the mechanical workings of the Ark's security, as much as a glimpse of 3 of our founders and their mindsets, their utility. We do appreciate you taking the time to join us and hope to have you all here again for our next installment, the second book of the Dove, and how the community reacts to what the Dove has seen in his brief maiden flight.